So I have Lauren Reed here with me, and she has Reed PR, and you're the founder of that, right?
Yes, we will be 8 years old in July.
And so tell me about Reed PR. And first of all, for everybody, so Lauren's in Nashville, and I recognize, and I'll just kind of go over what we're going to talk about here today, and then I'll ask Lauren the questions. But I saw Lauren covered in the New York Times, and it was this article. Actually, it wasn't a very nice article because it was kind of mean to this younger, newer PR person who sent him a pitch. But he then turned his act around and gave some PR people kudos, and he gave Lauren kudos for creating a hotline for PR questions, not just PR people, but a hotline for questions, that clients or people might have during coronavirus. So I reached out to Lauren to talk to us about what are the hot questions that she's getting on the hotline and what are her answers, and like, how is she handling her clients right now through coronavirus. And so we're going to first just hear a little bit about Lauren's firm. And it's in Nashville. And I also, I will shut up after a minute, but I recognize that it's one of the top growing Nashville firms. So I think that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. We're really fortunate. We're in a great market, and I've got a great team. So we've definitely grown quickly.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit about your firm, and then we'll go into the questions that you're getting.
Absolutely. So, if you had asked me this 6 months ago, it would have been a different answer, right? But COVID has really transformed our business right now and our client base. And I'm actually really grateful for it because we've made great change. But we have primarily been, probably 70% of our work has been consumer facing. And a lot of it has been restaurant, tourism, and hospitality. And within the first 10 to 14 days of COVID, we lost about 30% of our business with clients pausing. And that was that's scary as a business owner. 2 weeks before that, we moved into this brand new office space. I signed a 10-year lease on, so that is now sitting empty. So there were definitely some, oh crap, moments of, okay, what are we going to do? And I hate this word. It's so overused, but especially right now, but we had to pivot. So, if you had asked me 6 months, a year ago, our bread and butter, our sweet spot was really consumer facing brands. And it was one of two buckets. It's going to be the national or global brand. For example, McDonald's is a client of ours, but a need specific to the Southeast. So we work in Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana, down into Georgia, Florida. So we do a lot of work across the Southeast. And a lot of big brands would tap us for that in their markets. Well, that kind of shut down pretty quickly. We are, I will say, starting to see some of that pick up. But I'll skip to the ending in that, spoiler alert, we ended up having our best month ever in April, which is shocking.
Wait, so I guess I don't really want to rush you through this because I'm curious, and I know a lot of business owners are curious, or firm owners are curious how. So you said a lot of interesting things that I want to dig in on, and then we will save time at the end for the top questions that you're getting with your hotline.
Absolutely.
But so you said, so how did you do that? So you're saying that the revenues dropped about 30%, but you had your best month ever in April. How did you do that?
So let's say, okay, so you guys in the Pacific Northwest, I think you're a little ahead of us with the COVID thing, right? We have a partner agency in Seattle, and we were watching them very closely. We're part of the public relations global network, and we were communicating and watching our partners in Seattle get hit with this before any of us did. So we were watching and knowing, hey, this is probably coming. We're going to have to make a move. We're going to have to do something. So as soon as, we saw it happening, we did two things. One is the COVID hotline, which I'll get to. But the second is we've always done a lot of crisis work. Before, it was mainly limited to our leadership team. Our account team really wasn't as involved in it. We're a team of 10. We're a small agency. But, it wasn't ever anything we went out and sold. I don't think we were the firm someone called just because they had a crisis, right? It was if a client of ours had something going on, we would manage it. But Jenny, my VP, has done a ton of that work in her past life. So we knew we had to pivot to crisis work, and we knew that is what we could sell right now. We looked at industries and we looked at three things. Where do we have the connections? Where do we have experience? And where is there a need? And the obvious choice was senior living. And senior living has caused us to have our best month ever. We quickly put together some packages directed at senior living, whether it's skilled nursing, nursing homes, assisted living. And we worked our network, to be honest. We represent it's NHI, National Health Investors, and it's a real estate investment trust that works with dozens of senior living companies. I'm in entrepreneurs organization. So I knew very well, some senior living operators. So I was able to tap in really quickly and say, how do we immerse ourselves into this market? We put together packages, and we, within a week, were overwhelmed with the work and have actually been calling on partner agencies. So if anyone out here is listening, I don't know when this is going to run, and you have senior living experience, come to me. We talk. But it's been shocking to me. I keep saying I'm the luckiest girl in the world, and my business has a guardian angel, because I am watching peers. I get on the Counselors Academy page through PRSA, and I just stay in touch with a lot of business owners and PR agency owners, and I realize not everyone is as fortunate as us right now. But the senior living industry is what caused us to have our biggest month ever in April, and we're tracking to exceed that in May. So grateful. But I also realize, like a disclaimer, agencies are a lagging indicator, right, of the economy. And while we've got this crisis work pouring in right now, I do believe we're going to have a lag between when the crisis work stops and when the rest of our clients pick back up to their full level. Several of them have already picked back up as Nashville is starting to reopen, but our retainers aren't quite back up to where they used to be. So I do envision there's going to be a lag for us, and we will hit some slower times because of this. I'm prepared for that. I'm just grateful it hasn't hit us yet. And number two, the second thing we did, it was the crisis hotline. And we actually didn't do that for business. We did it because one of our core values is give back. And we have a program called Be the Good. We just hit our 5th anniversary on that program. And it's where our agency takes part of our profits every year, and we're able to fund grants and scholarships for people to go abroad and do service work. Sometimes it's mission work. A lot of times it's medical missions. It's a lot of service work, volunteering, and it's a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have the funding to do it. So our agency feels really good about that. We love being able to do that. I'm the cliche millennial, right? I'm one of the oldest ones. I'm 37, but I'm a millennial running a team of millennials. And it is true that my team wants to work for something more than their paycheck. And a lot of the work we've been doing is we're putting butts in seats at restaurants, heads in beds. And I personally about 5 years ago hit a little past quarter life, not quite midlife crisis. I started in an agency 2 days out of college. I majored in PR at my freshman year. Like, this is all I've ever done, right? So I had this little midlife crisis of, is this like all there is to my work?
I hear ya.
Yeah, and it really was. And one of my employees 5 years ago, and I will forever be grateful for her, asked me the question, what would you do if you didn't run this agency, if you didn't run a business? And I said I wouldn't run a business at all. I've had such great experience with mission work and service work. I truly believe it's made me a better professional, better mother. I have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old, all that stuff, better spouse. And I grew so much from it. I said I would start a foundation and allow people who don't have this opportunity. And this, I think, 24-year-old at the time looked at me and goes, why can't we do that?
Mm-hmm. I
and
love
it was
it.
the biggest aha moment. So back to today, because I know it feels like I'm jumping all around, but in my head,
no, I love it though. I want to hear all about it, because I could just ask you all about the charitable work too that I guess it's a foundation, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
If we have time, we'll get to that, because that ties into PR too, because we PR foundations for corporations, right? So And I'm sure you do that too. And especially with your localized angle where you're taking a big corporation, but doing
Yeah.
localized PR. Like it all kind of ties into the do good and
Yeah.
the
Our
action involved.
tagline is every brand is local. And every brand has to have a local strategy, and really getting brands, you know, from Orange Theory Fitness to McDonald's, who've worked with Bank of America, getting them ingrained in their local communities.
I love it. I want to, now I'm inspired by you.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
we do that for our clients, but sometimes we don't talk about it, right? To the community.
Girl, that can be a whole nother. Yeah, exactly. It's so uncomfortable. And, you know, I really put myself in my client's shoes through this. Because when I told my business partner about this conversation I had with this employee and that we're launching this program, she looked at me and she's like, I know exactly who to pitch at Fast Company. And I go, whoa, hold up. No, we're not telling people about this. That's not why we're doing it. And I got to feel how my clients feel.
Yeah.
I really think it's helped me, you know, in developing their cause-related marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
But the hotline was really born from this program, actually, because all of a sudden the trips we're funding are canceled. And something that is so inherent to who we are, like woven into the fabric of our company, is just gone. And, you know, part of us at first, of course, it's like, okay, we're not funding these trips. Well, we've just lost this revenue, so it's a wash. But like, I couldn't do that. I wish I could have, to be honest.
Because you've been busy with calls.
I just couldn't do that. So we created the COVID Hotline, and it was, you know, to replace our Be the Good program, but it was also, I'm a business owner, Amy, you own your agency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, like, number one, business owner, we can't sit still. I can't sit here and watch clients pause and me understanding why they're pausing. I mean, I know why they're pausing. I'm like, yes, pause. Like, you're shutting down. You know, we have a water park client. They're not going to get to open. You don't need me driving traffic to you right now. I mean, it's just, I can't in good faith say, keep paying me. So, you know, we've done some pauses, and luckily we did, and for anyone listening, like, we did negotiate always on the back end. Like, if you're pausing, we're adding 3 months to your contract or whatever. So, and we did kind of think through all of that. But so what are we going to do now? Right. It was, I'm seeing revenue dip, knowing I've got this new office space. I've got 10 employees.
Oh, yeah. I want to talk to you about how you're working right now. But so how many calls are you getting on your hotline, and what are the top questions you're getting from, and who's calling? Is it PR people or is it business owners or what?
Both. It's been really interesting. So, one of the reasons we started it is because as a business owner, I was feeling my own anxiety about everything. And when I feel stuck, I have to move. There's a song, and I'm not going to get into what it's about. It's the Enneagram. I don't know. It's really big in Nashville. Don't know.
Well, I looked at your podcast, which, by the way, you have a podcast called Relentless Marketing and PR Podcast.
My business partner and I do.
See, I'm in PR, so I can do talking.
We definitely want to return this and have you on it when we start filming season 2.
Oh, thank you. But I saw one of your episodes was how do you say it? The
Enneagram and diversity. Yeah.
So Enneagram, that's like personality kind of test.
It is. So it's like a Myers-Briggs or a disc profile, strengths finders. You know, I'm a junkie with that sort of thing, so I've taken them all.
It's interesting. I love that kind of stuff.
There's a song about, I happen to lead with 7. The Enneagram is 9 numbers. I lead with 7. And there's a band called Sleeping at Last did a song in each number, and I think it's really beautiful. But in the 7 song, it says, now that I'm saying this, I'm going to butcher the lyrics, right? Something along the lines of, it feels like I'm sinking when I'm standing in one place. So for me, movement is key. And I've got to I can't just watch something happen in my business. I have to jump in. I am admittedly a super high anxiety person.
So am I.
So well, being a business owner.
Well, or in the PR family. Right.
Family. I know we joked, and I don't think PR is one of the most stressful occupations. And when we get listed at that with like first in command, first responders and all of this, no, we're not firefighters. However, I did see it. I was scrolling through Facebook a few years ago, and, PR got ranked as one of the most stressful occupations, as it always does. And then another article, it was like, owning a business and entrepreneurship, the stress. I'm like, we picked both.
No wonder. Yeah, no wonder we have a little anxiety.
Both. But my team keeps joking, like, it's come into play now, because for the past, I started my firm, it'll be 8 years in July. For the past 6 years, I've had a written recession plan.
Oh, good job. Okay.
Yeah, a business continuity plan, a recession plan. So it's like, I am prepared for this.
That's great.
It actually, it really did. Like, I'm learning how, practicing what we preach. And because I did know, like, I knew, and I look at it every year at each revenue level, what our staffing needs to look like, what this needs to look like, and what changes need to be made. So it allowed us to very quickly take the emotion out of any decisions, but also, and I also put in there, because revenue drops immediately, but I'm not letting people go immediately. So I knew how long we could sustain it and all of that. So I knew how long I had to bring this revenue back up before I had to lose team members. And I was sick over that. I couldn't do that. And so it took the emotion, though, out of any decision. And my business partner and my leadership team, we all just looked at each other, and it's like, okay, this is happening to us. This is happening to every business right now. Unless you manufacture hand sanitizer, like, we are being impacted.
Or toilet paper.
Right. Yeah. We're being impacted. This sucks. Like, we're dealing with it, but we can't sit around, woe is me. We've got to fix this. So it took the emotion out of it, and we were able to act immediately. And we had the COVID hotline up within 48 hours of that conversation. Mm-hmm. And part of it, yes, we're marketers, we can easily update our tab on our website and brand it and all that quickly. So, we have backup there that allowed us to do it so quickly.
And so what were the top questions you were getting on the hotline?
All messaging. And it's actually tweaked. So it's interesting to watch how it's changed. The first few weeks, we were doing multiple calls a day, and that was draining for me. It was getting very draining because we were in the thick of it. This was, like, let's say, end of March, right? Like, March 15th is kind of the D-Day in Nashville of when everyone was like, what is going on? Contracts started pausing. Mm-hmm. So, and that's kind of just talking to other business owners. That's kind of when in Nashville it started happening. I was actually in Tahoe skiing, and the ski slopes got shut down.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was there. So I will always remember the day is like, everyone talks about, where were you, 9/11 or the Challenger, whatever. It's like, for me, it's, I was skiing and I didn't know we were about to get shut down. But so as soon as I got home, we got on all of this. But the first few weeks, it was just very emotional conversations. And it was it was mainly business owners at that point, it was employee communications, employee messaging. Mm-hmm. Hey, I cannot tell you how many messaging documents we gave out, and for pay reductions, layoffs, things like that, those tough conversations. But so when someone signs up for one of these calls, and what they are, it's a Zoom session. So we say hotline just so people know what that is. Zoom line would be kind of weird, but they schedule, and we get them in within 24 hours as long as they're available. We put someone on our team on a 45-minute Zoom call with them. And what we do is we walk them through who are all of your stakeholders and help them identify that. What do they need to hear right now? How do they get their information? And what we do is we always have 2 people on our team. So one person can really kind of be drafting a mini plan for them as we talk. And then we regroup as a team afterwards, add to it, and then we ship them off their plan. So it truly is more than a sounding board.
So you added a plan to the call? Was that like an add-on to the free phone call?
No, we haven't added it on. It's included. We always planned on kind of as we went through, and it's not a real plan, right? It's a mini, here's everything we discussed. Because what I want them to do when they're on the phone with us or on Zoom with us is be super focused on the conversation and not worried about writing everything down. So I wanted them to be able to just have this conversation and absorb what we're talking about. And then I'm able to better, pull information out about what's going on. And then, so by the end of the business day, we send them, it's 1 to 3 pages usually. And some of it is standard, here's crisis communication tips specific to this pandemic and things you need to know that are applicable to every company. But then they get a message guideline document for their specific company. And we have a process where we do this with all of our crisis communications clients. And it's been really, really helpful, particularly with this pandemic. And I actually just did a webinar this morning for the Nashville Chamber, and it took an hour to walk through this process. So I'm going to quickly tell you what it is.
Oh, great. Okay.
I have a worksheet if it's helpful to you to send, if anyone wanted it,
on sure.
how they can do it themselves. But essentially, we set 3 to 5 brand filters, and it's specific to this pandemic and this situation. And it's what you look at all of your stakeholders and what do you want them to say about you when this pandemic is over? And we don't know when it's going to be over, right? That's what makes this so difficult. But when they look back, what do you want them to say about you? And this is your employees, it's your vendors, your partners, your board, your customers, clients. And then we write down messaging for each of those. And so you have these 3 to 5 filters, but everything you do moving forward, communication-wise, whether it's social, email, in-person conversations with your employees, things like that, they must be run through these filters and make sure it fits. And here's the reason. I liken it to marathon training. I'm a big runner. Unfortunately, I have not gotten to run as much lately because we're working around the clock now.
That's too bad, because it's a good time, I guess, to run.
I know, it really would be. But, my first week of marathon training, I always kill it, right? Like, I follow my schedule to a T. My nutrition is so good. I'm hydrated. Okay, by week 12, yeah, don't even look at me. Because if I get home late from the office, I'll talk myself into skipping the run. I'm just not as diligent, right? Over a long sustained period. And there's so much research and information out there right now about how this pandemic, it's sustained trauma. There is no end in sight. We don't know when race day is, if we're going with this marathon example. So we're having to be on and go hard all the time, and we don't know when it's going to end. And when you're going so hard all the time, which none of us are really created to do, right? You start to slip up. So it's really easy to be gung-ho on, let's follow this crisis communications plan my PR agency gave me to a T for 3 weeks. It's a lot harder 6 months in. So we felt we needed to make an easy, digestible, just document, 3 to 5 brand filters. And if you do nothing else, look at, before you send any employee email out that's talking about, return to the workplace or guidelines or this or that, make sure that the tone is reflecting and the messaging is reflecting what you want those employees to say and think about you a year from now.
Okay, that's key advice. Thank you.
So that's what we do on these calls. We walk through that process and then we provide it to them.
And I'm just curious, who was calling? Was it small business owners? I mean, you said it was owners, so were they small businesses or?
Yeah, so I think we keep a document. I can go back and look, but I'm going to guess. I'm going to spitball here. And it depends on how they found us too, right? So after the New York Times article, we actually got some pretty big, $30 to $50 million organizations. And we've actually converted some of them into projects. It's been cool seeing how, and this was not our intent, but they come back to us and say, okay, this plan's great, but can you just do our email strategy? And can you just do this? And we're like, of course we can. But yeah, it's run the gamut. I mean, I have talked to a $300,000 owner of an ice cream shop. And I can't believe I'm saying this out there publicly. I much prefer those conversations because these business owners have put everything on the line.
Mm-hmm. And you understand where they're coming from.
I understand where they're coming from because I got this office space to pay for. So, and while, as an agency, we've always followed, we follow Rick Gold and David Baker, their guidelines and all of that on percentages of staffing and office space and all that stuff. And we followed all of them, but we still, are in this situation just like everybody else. So it's really, I can relate to these business owners and I really enjoy those conversations. But I love when I'm getting on the phone with a VP of marketing at a company with 50 locations talking about recovery and integration. I think I get to do more of that just in my everyday life, right?
Mm-hmm.
be with the CMO, VP of marketing, that I really click with the one-on-one business owner conversation. But it's all good. But most questions at first were about employees. It was about workforce. And it was about clients and, communicating to their clients that either we're essential, we're non-essential, but here's how we can still serve you, things like that. I think the PR industry, one thing I've noticed is we are at an advantage with the remote workforce. Most agencies I know, it was no big thing. My agents to just remote work, but a lot of these people had to move 100 plus people who were not allowed to previously work from home to remote workforce, and there was just a lot of technical things that came with that, and they wanted to know how to communicate that to their clients, like, hey, please give us grace as we convert to a remote workforce.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about your workforce right now, but I'm just curious about so it sounds like you're doing a lot of messaging work, which makes sense. So nobody's asking about active pitching or media relations on the calls.
Yeah, and we're talking about, so my personal theory there is the only thing you should be pitching now is to be a resource. And it's not the time to do a hard sell. Like in the webinar I did this morning with the Nashville Chamber, we had a whole slide and talked a lot about mastering the soft sell right now. And also, I think we are starting to see with our clients and on these calls, it shift to messaging and how to sell and how to pitch on that we are open for business, but how we're going to keep you healthy, right? So whereas a year ago, everybody in their pitches, it's like, what are your key differentiators? How can we tell your brand story? That doesn't really matter right now, unfortunately, in the eyes of the consumer. It is how to do business with me. So I think pitches and marketing messaging, it's very much, we're going to see a shift. I'm seeing it with our clients and with these hotline calls to here's how you can safely do business with me.
Okay. And so how long do you think that's going to be that we have to cool off on our pitches?
I don't know. I wish I did. I think, now I will say a caveat is like, as you're offering a resource. So we're pitching our hotline. We've been pitching our hotline. That's how it was in the New York Times, right? But it's inherently who we are. So it's the fine line of telling your brand story through being a resource, right? Telling your product, the story of your product and why it's necessary while you're being a resource, if that makes sense. It's this fine line. And
you did have a direct tie into COVID with your hotline, but you can also understand why people would be nervous to tie into COVID, because that also can look a certain way. And especially with how the press is blasting everybody for trying to tie into COVID. Actually, I don't know that they are. That the New York Times article was more about that she didn't tie into COVID.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. When they reached out, they said, we're doing an article on PR. We've heard about your hotline. I had no clue that they were going to be sort of negative to other PR people, and it really made me feel bad.
Well, yeah, especially with the new...
I was like, they're doing almost like a winners and losers of pitching right now, and oh my God.
So how did they find out about your hotline? How did you market that?
So we pitched someone we had worked with before. It wasn't the reporter. The reporter who ended up writing it, she passed it along to him. And the reporter who ended up writing it was actually an entertainment reporter.
Oh, right.
It's pretty much all hands on deck, though. Was at that point, everyone was covering COVID. Yeah, but I think I want to get back to, you had asked me how it's like a fine line, right? Don't overcapitalize upon COVID, but don't pretend it's not happening either. So it's this fine line of, our thing is, and what we're advising our clients, and as I'm coaching my team through this, is we're not going to ignore that the pandemic's not here. It's affecting everybody. It's part of our life right now. But let's not go out on a limb and, say, let's not overtly be like, because of COVID, you need to buy this. Or let's not overcapitalize, on a pain point. And I'm going to be biased here. I think PR is the most suited marketing function to do that. We are used to taking delicate messaging and telling the story and really looking at what the stakeholders want and need to hear. So I think PR is at an advantage right now because we are used to doing this. And it is such a fine line. And we always have this rule of, pitching, it's 90% of your success happens before you pick up that phone and make that call. And yes, pick up the phone. We always coach our team, like, actually, let's use the phone.
Yeah, it's okay.
There's a lot of like, back from the reporter. Oh, okay. From your email? Like,
like that counted. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's very much, I don't know. And we're tapping in on a lot of key relationships now of reporters. We're going to reporters who really know us too. And they know our hearts, and they know, we're not gonna pitch them crap, to be honest. Like, we're only gonna pitch them something that is helpful and makes sense to their audience. And
yeah. Well, you're too busy doing other things like messaging. So let me ask you, how's it going in Nashville in general? And I see this gorgeous office behind you, but I think you alluded to the fact that nobody's there.
It's empty.
So, because I did a quick little search and it looked like Nashville somewhat opened up, but maybe that's up to businesses to decide what they're going to do.
It is, and I've made the decision. We're closed. We're gonna work remotely until I don't know when, until I'm fully comfortable with the liability, honestly, of having my team back in here.
So, do you one business owner to another? Do you regret leasing an office, or because you had mentioned that?
Not at all.
Okay.
I don't. We've always had offices. Our lease was up. We built this space out. I signed this lease back in August. We've been planning for it, and we have the reserves and stuff to get us through a tight period. I don't regret that at all. I can look at this and know I get excited walking in, and I know we're going to do great things in this space. I just don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know that my company is going to look like what it looked like when I moved into this space and signed this lease.
Well, it sounds like it'll look better.
I don't know. We just don't know. Never would have thought, we'd have a roster of dozens of senior living clients right now doing crisis for. But yeah, I don't regret it at all. So Nashville has been really interesting, and not a lot of people know this because, COVID is just controlling the news cycle right now. But March 5th, we had deadly tornadoes. Nashville and Tennessee. And throughout Tennessee, a good friend of mine lost his home. He's a business owner as well. And so we were dealing with that. And then COVID happened. So Nashville was already in crisis. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but I mean, it was well over 100, businesses and homes destroyed. So, I mean, I think it was more than that, way more than that. But, and then our outlying areas, some suburbs that, Cookeville, about an hour away, was devastated by this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So we had that happen. So Nashville's already dealing with that. And a lot of the people, we had schools that were destroyed and were shut down already. Kids already didn't have schools to go to. And so the city was dealing with that. And one thing about Nashville is we wrap our arms around each other, and everyone takes care of each other. And we were doing that. Everyone had jumped in and we were doing that. We had a devastating flood in 2010. It was, I think they said, a 500-year flood. I mean, it was insane. It got a lot of international coverage back then, where people lost homes, lost lives, and the city recovers and comes back stronger. So we were all in our gung-ho, we're going to recover from this tornado on March 5th. And then March 15th is when, COVID happens. And then 2 Sundays ago, so not quite 2 weeks ago, I had never heard this term. We had a Derico. Do you happen to know what a Derico is?
No, what is it?
It's like a tornado without the actual funnel. I guess it's high winds, like hurricane winds, essentially, that knocked 130,000 homes in Nashville without power.
Wow, that's what you need.
Myself included.
Yeah.
So, and my business partner. So after the second day without power, I mean, I looked at my husband. I said, I cannot do this. We have 2 kids, no power, no hot water. No, I can't do this. No internet, and we're all working remotely. Nice. So, we have a friend who had an empty beach house where I just said, hey, we're driving down 65 and we're going to quarantine here for now. But when I got back on Sunday, there were still houses without power.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
It's just insane. So Nashville, we have this added layer, to COVID. But amidst all of that, this week we did start opening up. So Tennessee opened up before Nashville. Our mayor made the decision not to. So we're opening up at limited capacity. We have it's a 3-phase, program based on the numbers. And we have met phase 1 where restaurants just opened up, very limited capacity, I think 25% capacity. I have not been yet. What I'm hearing from a lot of restaurant owner friends is, okay, opening up at 25% capacity is we are going to lose money.
Oh, I'm sure. Unless you're fast food, which you have McDonald's,
yes,
right?
Yes. And our fast food clients have been, McDonald's was great throughout all of this. At least our work with them, that didn't pause, which was really good because they're a key client of ours. So I was appreciative that they kept going through all of this. But if anyone can do it, McDonald's can. So
yeah, it's the drive-through,
right? Yeah, but even they've had to make so many changes. Like that's one thing this pandemic is costing. It's just costing a lot of our clients money, and as business owners, I'm gonna bring in ServPro or someone before I let my team back in, just to make sure that we're totally good. Even though I'm pretty much the only one who's been in here, our team kind of comes in and out, like to grab their laptop stand or this or that, but we're not really working from here. So that's like a whole nother thing I think as marketers we're going to deal with, is not reduce budgets because of decreased sales or anything, but these companies have new expenses that they didn't have to think about before. Like consider events. We don't know when, full-scale events are going to be back, but there's a whole new layer of health and safety that has to be considered now.
So then that's going to be costly is what you're saying.
It's going to be costly. Yeah. And it's going to cost our time, to plan things, more time to plan things, and just the things that are going to be required now.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you're just kind of operating with the wait and see, which is what our governor in Oregon is doing, the wait and see model, which makes sense. Why make plans that you just have to change anyways? So you'll just kind of see how it goes.
Yeah. And according to our governor and mayor, I could have my team in here right now, but my thing is we are being just as productive from home. We miss the camaraderie. We miss the face-to-face. We're doing daily huddles, but looking at each other on a screen isn't the same. We have this kind of weird vibe where we all like each other. Like we love
It's really weird.
I know. I get questions like, a team of 10 women, how's that go? I'm like, actually, it's great. Yeah, it works.
Well, you have a good culture. So that's part of your
it's a priority for me. Culture is really my kind of number one thing that I enjoy working on. But yeah, we, to me, it's not worth the liability right now of, if one person on our team gets it and passes it along to 3 other people, okay, that's 40% of my workforce that is out or quarantined. So
any last minute thoughts on, as we wrap up, on how to maintain your culture remotely?
I wish I had better, things on this. I feel like we're trying really hard, and that's an area I feel like we're sort of struggling, to be honest. So we have daily huddles at 11, and we started that right out of the gate. And we really started it because our team members were hearing from like their peers and their friends, at other agencies or just other jobs, their spouses and folks that they were losing their jobs, or their pay was getting reduced, or, bonuses were on hold, or all these things. And then they're seeing, us getting client notice after client notice of clients pausing. So they needed to hear from me daily. They needed me to be on there and say, and I was very upfront from the beginning. I was always, hey, XYZ paused, they say they'll be back in 90 days. If they're not, then we'll bill their cancellation or termination contract, early clause, whatever. But I was just very upfront with the info. But for them to if they were just to hear that through the grapevine or via email without the context behind it from me, it could have been detrimental.
Oh, sure.
So every day I would explain, and I would tell them every day, my goal remains, I cannot promise you that I can do this, but my goal remains a year from now, this same team is sitting here. That is my one goal. And I would tell them that and assure them that I was fighting for them. And as they saw that, they were fighting too. I'm so proud of my team. Right now, everyone's working weekends right now. We have a rotating schedule. I've had two days off, 2 Saturdays off, I think, since this all started.
Oh no.
But it's okay because it's better than the alternative. So we will get a break one day. But what the feedback I'm getting now is the daily activity, the daily looking at each other is exhausting because we are so busy. It's feeling burdensome.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're cutting it to 3 times a week, and we're just doing our regular Monday staff meeting. Wednesday's a midweek check-in, and Friday is social.
Oh, cool.
We're going to meet over lunch. We're all going to have our lunch, because that's another thing. When we're in the office, I force them to take breaks. Like, we intentionally have that big kitchen there because I want to see it. I want to see them taking breaks. I don't want their laptops with them. We actually have a rule: you don't eat at your desk. In this new office, we didn't have in our old office, a big gathering area. But you don't eat at your desk, and it's because I want everyone to take breaks during the day.
And you have to model that, don't you? So
and I have to model that. Oh, it's so hard. The first day I ordered Chick-fil-A and had it in the office. And my partner comes in. She's like, Lauren, you can't eat at your desk. And I'm like, oh. And like, we have glass walls, so it's like I can't even hide it.
Yeah. It's like, why did I say that?
I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go out. And I pick up my laptop. She goes, you can't take your laptop.
That's hilarious.
Okay. But it was just a break.
At least you have someone keeping you accountable.
Right. Yeah. So on Fridays now, we're all just going to get on at noon. We're not allowed to work. We're not allowed to talk about work. And we're just eating lunch together for 30, 45 minutes.
That's nice, because people need that connection when we can't go out. We can't see other people other than maybe our families.
Right.
So that's key.
Yeah. So I don't really have good culture tips. It's just, I'm just trying to just keep them all updated and assure them, like, hey, I'm working my tail off. I know you guys are. You're appreciated, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep everyone employed. And in return, we see how amazing they are. Like, they step up, and they're amazing. And I mean, I knew I had a good team, a decent team. I didn't know I had an all-star team until now. And
well, perfect. Well, thank you. That's perfect. Lovely end note, because it's such a positive thing to say. And well, last question though, and then I'll let you go. Is your hotline still open if people want to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's on our website. So if you go to readpublicrelations.com, a pop-up for COVID Communications Hotline will take you to it, and you can just put in a request, and one of my team members will get with you to schedule.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you. This was fun.